Imagine a world where empires rise like titanic waves, sweeping across continents with unstoppable force, only to crash and fade into memory, leaving behind whispers of glory and ruin for thousands of years. The story of humanity has been written in the rise and fall of these colossal powers, each believing itself eternal, yet none escaping the cruel cycle of time. What is it about empires that makes them so irresistible to us? Why do they grow? Why do they dominate? And why do they inevitably collapse? Today, we journey through one epic timeline, unraveling the fate of every great empire that has shaped our world and the surprising lessons they leave behind. Long before Rome ruled the Mediterranean, the first empires were born from the cradle of civilization along the fertile banks of the Tigris and Euphrates. The Sumerians, around 3000 BCE, built city-states with towering ziggurats and the first written laws. Their power was fragile, stitched together by the ink of cuneiform and the strength of irrigation canals. But even these early empires knew the intoxicating allure of control. Their rule ended not with a bang, but a slow unraveling, overrun by Akkadians and later Babylonians, proof that even the mightiest cannot withstand the relentless pressure of change. Fast forward to the ancient world, and the stage belongs to Rome, the empire that would become synonymous with domination. Rome's secret wasn't just its legions or roads, but an unyielding belief in its destiny. At its height, it spanned 3 continents, controlling everything from the deserts of North Africa to the forests of Germania. The Roman Empire gave us law, language, and engineering marvels that echo to this day. Yet, beneath its marble grandeur, lurked seeds of decay. Political corruption, economic troubles, and barbarian invasions chipped away at its foundations. Until in 476 CE, the Western Roman Empire crumbled, with the East endured as Byzantium. A reminder that empires can fracture, yet still live on in altered forms. While Rome was fading, the mighty Gupta Empire was illuminating India's golden age. This empire, flourishing between the 4th and 6th centuries CE, was a beacon of science, art, and philosophy. Mathematicians within its borders invented the concept of zero, and poets penned verses that inspired generations. However, even brilliance is no shield against invasion. The Guptas eventually succumbed to the pressure of the Huns, showing that military might often write history in blood and fire. Meanwhile, far to the west in Africa, the Mali Empire was rising under the reign of Mansa Musa, who embarked on a legendary pilgrimage to Mecca with caravans of gold. Mali dazzled the world with wealth beyond imagination. His generosity was so extreme, it destabilized economies across North Africa. But as dazzling as Mali's riches were, the empire's power was deeply tied to its control of trade routes. When those routes shifted, so did the tides of fortune. The Mongol Empire shattered all previous records for speed and scale. Under Genghis Khan, a man once abandoned by his own clan, the Mongols unified the steppes and swept across Asia and into Europe with lightning speed. Their empire stretched from the Sea of Japan to the gates of Vienna, altering the course of history forever. But the very qualities that made the Mongols unstoppable: fierce loyalty, brutal tactics, and unparalleled mobility could not bind a vast empire held together by conquest alone. After Genghis Khan's death, infighting and the sheer difficulty of governing sprawling territories tore the empire apart. In Europe, the Middle Ages brought the rise of kingdoms and the birth of the English and French crowns locked horns in the 100 Years' War, a protracted conflict fueled by claims to land and legitimacy. While castles were besieged and knights clashed, a silent enemy, the Black Death, decimated populations and appended feudal society. It was a grim reminder that no army or king is immune to the forces of nature. As the Renaissance dawned, the Ottoman Empire emerged as a dominant power bridge in East and West. Sultan Mehmed II's conquest of Constantinople in 1453, empire and heralding Ottoman control of trade routes and Mediterranean politics. The Ottomans ruled with a blend of military innovation and administrative genius, their empire lasting over 6 centuries. Yet, Even they faced decline, battered by internal corruption and the relentless pressure of European powers in the 19th century. Across the Atlantic, the Aztec and Inca empires flourished with advanced agriculture, monumental architecture, and complex societies. But when Spanish conquistadors, like in Francisco Pizarro, arrived, it brought more than guns and horses. They unleashed diseases that decimated indigenous populations and shattered civilizations. The fall of these empires was swift and brutal, a tragic chapter illustrating the collision of worlds and the fragility of power built on isolation. Europe's age of empires followed, with Spain, Britain, France, and others carving the globe into colonies. The British Empire, once the largest the world had seen, was said to be the empire on which the sun never set. But empires built on exploitation and control faced their own reckoning. Nationalist movements and the cost of global wars in the 20th century hastened their decline. By the mid-1900s, decolonization swept through Asia, Africa, and the Americas, reshaping global power once again. The 20th century also gave rise to ideological empires, communism under the Soviet Union and fascism under Nazi Germany. These were empires not just of land, but of ideas and fear. Their rapid expansion and horrific violence culminated in a world war that left the planet scarred and the old order shattered. The Cold War that followed was a battle for influence rather than territory, a new kind of empire built on ideology and technology. Today, we live in an era where no empire dominates with the unquestioned power of old. The United States rose as a superpower post-World War II, but even it faces challenges from shifting alliances, economic rivals, and internal divisions. In the digital age, power is more diffuse and fleeting. The empires of yesterday serve as warnings and lessons that ambition, no matter how vast, must contend with complexity, resilience, and the unpredictable currents of history. Why do empires fall? Is it hubris, external enemies, economic collapse? Often it is all of these. But also the simple truth that nothing, no matter how mighty, lasts forever. Empires are stories grand, tragic, inspiring, reminding us that history is not a straight line, but a great swirling river where power flows, floods, and recedes. So next time you walk past an ancient ruin or a grand palace, remember that you are standing in the shadows of an empire's dream, a dream that once seemed destined to last forever, but like all things, was ultimately claimed by time. The rise and fall of every empire, it's not just history, it's the pulse of humanity itself, beating through the ages.